Hello, ladies and gents. We are live. I'm going to go live for probably only like 10-15 minutes if anybody joins in. Haven't been able to make many videos this week. Wait for some. Gyro. What's going on, brother? Hey, we were supposed to connect a couple weeks ago. I think you said you were going to come on a call and we were going to chat about something. How you doing, man? Good to hear from you. How is the marketing launch agency service for course creators in Brazil going? I believe that is what we last spoke about. It's a really cool niche. And I knew you were doing something else as well. All right, cool. Yeah, let's connect. Mondays, I'm going to be off because I'm going to get my final wisdom tooth removed. So Thursday, hopefully I'm healthy and we can chat next week, Thursday. Speaking of that, I should post it in the group. Yes, it's growing, getting more clients. Legendary, did you launch the new course? No, I have not launched Agency Enlightened. Week 1, section 1 is done. And I believe you do have access to it though. So it covers mindset, which I was actually really excited about because I never got to do that in the original 1.0 program that you're probably familiar with. So yeah, dude, if you haven't gone through it, I would highly recommend it. I would love to get your thoughts and your opinion on it. I think you'd really enjoy it. Yeah, I think you'd really enjoy it. Personal mindset and agency mindset. And there's some other stuff in there like agency fundamentals. But Pedro, hello, how are you? Mr. Gabo, how are you? Dan was just telling me about how you were 30 minutes late because you leave your house at five minutes prior to your workout sessions, man. Pedro, how do you contact prospects if they don't have a LinkedIn, they don't have and they don't open your emails? Give up. Pedro, if you don't have their if you don't have any other contact channels, I mean, there's nothing else you can really do. If you got their email and you've sent them some follow-ups, they're not opening it and it's going directly to their inbox, there's not much else you can do other than hit them on Facebook, Instagram, any other social media platform. But it's LinkedIn and email are the primaries from in our niche, and if they don't have those two, we don't go any further. That's great. Mindset is great, and you have a good one. Thank you. I appreciate you. Mindset is always to be worked on. Getting lots of results with an organized networking strategy in Panama market. Lol, go figure. Yes, Panama is small. Networking goes a long way here. Yes, that is good. How do you always stay productive? I am not always productive. I don't know how to answer that question. I think it's nearly impossible. There seems to be distractions always, all the time, and some of them are worth your time and worth taking you out of flow. Other times they're not. But regardless, you can do your best to limit distractions by optimizing your environment. So, keep your office door closed so nobody walks by and looks at you or starts a random conversation. Turn off your notifications. There's obvious things that are within your control that make a big difference, but most of what will distract you once you've optimized your environment is sometimes out of your control, because sometimes you can't just fully go do not disturb if you don't have a team taking care of your clients and whatnot. And so, but in terms of just like staying productive and motivated, it's just about making sure that you're engaged in the work that you're doing. And high engagement in your work comes from just in general being curious about what it is that you do. I'm very curious about advertising. I love advertising. I think it's an amazing thing, and I always want to learn more and get better at it. And so, for me, it keeps me engaged, and so it keeps me productive. But I'm not 100% productive all the time. I closed 2 contracts last month. I'm at 19K plus. We've also partnered with a consulting firm. We're rolling. Congrats, dude. Legendary. That's amazing. Congrats. I believe when we were speaking, you didn't really have any cheds coming in. I think you were just starting out. So that's epic, dude. Congrats. I bought Power versus Force and Extreme Revenue Growth. I would read Extreme Revenue Growth first. I think you're highly motivated towards business. And I don't know if Power versus Force is going to resonate too deeply with you right now. It might, but I think you're in that stage of like extreme energy and motivation to just make as much money as possible and scale your agency as fast as possible. So start with the business and then move to Power versus Force afterwards. But take your time reading Power versus Force. It's a long, lengthy, hard book to get through, but it's deadly. It's one of my favorites. My favorite non-business book ever. Yes. We had 9 people on the live stream. If you guys have questions, put it in the chat. We got about 5, 6, 7 minutes left. 2 weeks ago, prospect said yes to a 2K per month service. Then he ghosted me. Yes, I've had that happen to me as well. That's more common than you'd think. I can also get financed from the firm to do marketing. Talking to B2B agencies in Spain. I don't understand the question, brother. Financed for what? And what are these 50K for what? Like they're willing to pay you 50K for your services? Should I get into a niche or offer where the average monthly retainer is 500 and can sometimes go up to 1,000 Canadian? That's okay. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it per se. If you're not making any money right now, why not? If it has great potential, but the service pricing is a little bit lower, then go for it. Why not? In my opinion, it's ideal to get an agency up to like 2,000-3,000 a month. But that's just my subjective bias opinion based on the type of agency that I run. There's many agencies that run with $500 to $1,000 per month retainers, and they can grow to 7-8 figure companies. I would argue it's generally a little bit harder. You got to be quite business savvy. There's not much room for mistake. You really need to get good at systems and automating and all that stuff. Can you give some thoughts about delegation? Yes. So start with the extremely monotonous extremely monotonous tasks. When it comes to delegating, especially if you don't have a lot of experience with it, I was very happy with my evolution of like learning how to delegate and whatnot. I first started out just hiring a virtual assistant for like $2-3 an hour, and all the things that were like really monotonous that were taking up a good amount of my time, even if it was just like 30 minutes to an hour a day, that adds up very quickly. And also it kind of destroys your mental health if you're constantly doing this monotonous, repetitive stuff. So delegate. If you can automate it, great, automate it. If you can't automate it, delegate it. And start there. So look at your day, look at where you're spending your time. If you're pulling reports for clients every single week and it takes you just 30 minutes to pull those reports because it's a really simple process, you click, 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 get a virtual assistant to that. That's 30 minutes a week. That's 2 hours a month. That's 24 hours a year. That's a day of your life. Okay? And so even something that's just 30 minutes a week, very important to delegate. Yeah, so I would start there, is start with the lowest, easiest tasks, and that'll get you more in the flow of like, oh, well, what's the next lowest tasks? Because once you've gotten rid of the lowest tasks, there's always going to be the next and the next and the next and the next. And then 10 years goes by and all you're working on is like $10,000 per hour tasks. And you're thinking about, buying other companies and really big visionary stuff that is worth lots and lots of money. But in the beginning, it's simple stuff like that. Is the grocery gourmet food category on Amazon competitive for PPC? Yes, definitely. Absolutely. One of the most competitive, depending on the type of, subcategory within that general category. But every category in Amazon is generally speaking quite competitive. There's some diamonds in the rough, but it's very competitive now compared to what it was 5 years ago. So you got to be good. You got to be good at your PPC. What should a minimum viable team be composed of? Mr. Garrett, I know you, man. That reverse name. I'm not sure I quite understand. Minimum viable team. I guess it depends on the nature of your agency. For our agency, minimum viable team would be like me, one virtual assistant, one account executive, one automation specialist. That's like minimum, right? And if you want to like really, really minimum is just me and a virtual assistant and no one else. And the next step is me, a virtual assistant, and maybe an automation specialist. And then me, virtual assistant, automation specialist, account executive. And now we're rolling. And then it's another account executive. And the account executive is a really crucial part because that's when you can start to take client management off of your plate and you can begin to focus working on the business. I'm convinced the consulting firm we're partnering with to finance us to get aggressive marketing for our company and up in the Hispanic area, outbound and inbound, and it costs $50K per year. Should I go for it? You're going to pay these people $50,000 per year. Is that what you're saying? It's basically outsourcing every aspect of marketing department with a very high reputation. Spoke agency. We're talking LinkedIn and SEO. Oh man, I would not. Mr. Gabrielle, Gabo, I would be very careful about that. Try it, maybe negotiate with them and tell them, look, I want to test out a client and see how it performs. I don't know what you mean by 50K. Like, do you have to pay that up front? If you have to pay that up front, that's a lot of risk for you. So I don't really fully understand the context, but never outsource or delegate your core competency. If you're running a marketing agency, don't outsource that. Unless you just want to build a business that's basically a shell company and you're not actually providing any services and you're running this thing as like a middleman and you just care about money and you don't want to build any culture. A lot of people do that. A lot of people just run these white label agencies and, they're just salespeople, and then the client signs and they don't know that they're just getting passed off to another agency. Anyways, I don't understand the context of the 50K. If it is an agency that you're thinking of hiring for managing a lot of different marketing services for people here in Panama, negotiate with them to figure out how to test one client. Don't go and pay them all that money up front, or don't get locked into a contract. Be very careful about that stuff. You got to think really hard about that and what the negative second order consequences are. Gyro, I got to refine my systems and processes. That's a new level. Love it. Yes, systems process is very important. Mr. Luke, what up, Luke? Long time. It's beautiful to see you here. I hope you're doing well, brother. I hope you're doing well. You'll have to come to Panama sometime. I'm leaving the city soon. I'm trying to buy a house in Playa Venao. Live on the beach. Go surfing instead of going to the gym. A bit more ideal. Prince, what would you do to gain the first 5 clients in your agency, assuming everything was stripped away from you tomorrow? I made a video about that. I would watch the video. Gabo, what's your thoughts? It costs 4 to 5K a month over 12 months. No, we're a tech company. We do bots. It's managing our marketing for ourselves to get clients. Oh, it's for yourself. Nah, dude, I wouldn't do that. Like, I would not. I would be very cautious about doing it. I personally just wouldn't do it in the beginning. I would say, like, get yourself up to like a solid MRR. Figure out how to do your own lead gen, at least the basic concepts. Like, that's a very core part of your business, how to sign clients. You should understand it, in my opinion. And you're very young, and your company's very young, and so it's just something that it's one of your core competencies of growing your agency, right? And you don't want one of your core competencies for the growth of your agency to be dependent on someone that's not even inside of your agency. Now, if you were hiring somebody for $5,000 per month, they were an expert, they could run it for you, well, then that'd be different. I would recommend doing something like that over, hiring an agency. The only way I would say that it's okay is if they didn't lock you into this crazy 12-month contract and they were able to do a 90-day beta test for you. And that 90-day beta test is like a bootstrapped $5,000 to $10,000 test where they're going to spend a certain amount and they're going to provide ROI. Personally, that's the only way I would test a marketing agency. I'd tell them, look, I'm going to give you 90 days. I'm going to give you $10,000. Run whatever, do whatever you can do with it. I want to see some results, and I'll happily become a $10,000 per month client if we see some results. But I am very much like, no, you're not going to lock me into a year-long contract. I'm not going to do that. No, we don't even do that for our clients. We have a 30-day cancellation policy for all of our clients. You're not happy with our service? Let us know. We'll cancel in 30 days. And we're not going to hold you to the contract. We're happy to cancel tomorrow if we really need to. The 30-day policy is just so that we can transition the account back into their hands. So, yeah. No one talk about it here, dude. Playa Venao, isn't that too remote? Playa Venao now has 98.5% uptime for Wi-Fi. They have a fiber optic cable that runs from the city to Playa Venao. And with a backup generator, I feel pretty good about it. So, and also, Gabo, Elon Musk is doing some cool things, and so we're very fortunate to have his satellites up there. I know there's some negative second-order consequences to it, but his company, which I'm blanking on, not SpaceX, but anyways, it's the satellite company that gives you Wi-Fi. It's like $99 a month. You get 150 to 200, or 50 to 150 or 200 megabytes per second for like $100 a month. Does anybody here remember the name of Elon Musk's Starlink is what it's called? Yeah. Luke, you're going through that with Matt right now. You mean like a contract negotiation thing? Matt is the master of contracts and from what I've heard, dangling the carrot. Matt's a hell of a negotiator, and he comes from direct response. So when I was talking to him about my agency, he was like, why aren't you locking people into 12-month contracts or getting equity in their companies and all this? And like, that's a style, that's a way to run your agency. I'm not opposed to it, but for the culture we want to build, I am opposed to it. And we're not trying to shark people's equity. We're more or less happy to work with them and build lifelong relationships without equity. Although there's situations where I've talked to clients about equity and they've been open to it. It just adds a whole level of complexity though. The fishing and Pedicee area is amazing. Hey guys, I gotta hop off in like 1 minute, but I'm gonna read through the final. How much do you follow up on prospects? A few follow-ups, really nothing more, to be honest with you. Have you ever sold on Amazon yourself? No, I have not. Vinao has too many perfect looking people. That's funny. Dude, I'm thinking to make a contract for 1 year with one of my clients. I receive a percentage of the sales and we are for 2 to 3 months testing. We are having great results. What do you think? Yeah, look, I think that if he's fine with it, go for it. I think the nature of what you're doing, Gyro, that kind of makes sense. But just be open to changing things when you go through the sales process with him. If he says, hey, I really don't like a 1-year contract, or you're going to lock me in with a percentage of sales, you can renegotiate different things, but just be open to changing it and don't be, concerned with keeping it that way. At the end of the day, if you build a strong relationship with somebody and you really put time and energy into building that relationship, they're going to love you. You're going to love them. It's going to be amazing, especially if your service is performing well results wise. They wouldn't want to leave you if your performance is amazing, right? But in your case with what you're doing, Gyro, if you're working with people that are kind of like just starting out, they're maybe doing their first launch. For you in that type of model that you're running, I think it makes sense to do longer contracts and potentially get even equity. So anyways, ladies and gents, I got to fly. It is 9:07 on the dot. And it's time to hang out with the wifey. So I appreciate you all. Much love.